Hey y'all, hi. So today's video is 3 makeup risks that anyone can take. And I have to admit right out of the gate that I absolutely snatched this video idea from the lovely Alyssa Beltempo. She recently posted a video, 3 style risks that anyone can take. I will of course link her channel and that video down below, and I recommend checking her out. I really enjoyed that video, and when I was watching it, I thought, what would the makeup version of this look like? If this happens to be your first time watching my channel, then welcome. My name is Hannah. I make videos about fashion and beauty. I'm also interested in consumerism and combating the urge to constantly buy more stuff with the act of diving back into what you already own and kind of relearning to relish it. So all of the 3 things that I'm going to present to you, the 3 risks that you can take, are things that I think you'll be able to do using what you already own. If you are new and you like this, I really hope that you'll decide to subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, so makeup risk number 1 that anyone can take is to wear less base product than you usually wear. Another way of saying it is to cover up less of your skin than you usually cover up. And of course, I know there are some of you out there watching who don't wear base makeup. This one might not be as relevant to some of you as the other 2 will be. But I think for a lot of beauty lovers, a lot of makeup lovers, like those of us who love makeup for its own sake, which I know that's a lot of you out there watching too, complexion products are really alluring. There's just something about the creaminess, the promise of really beautiful skin in a bottle, the skincare benefits, the models with their clear, luminous skin. And over time, we end up collecting base products because they keep calling to us. And then maybe over time, just get into the habit of sort of piling them on no matter what's going on, like no matter what kind of condition your skin's in, no matter what kind of day you're about to have. And you know, I have redness and blemishes to cover. I wear base products most days, even when I'm not doing much else on my face. And I think that they're fantastic. I'm not saying down with base products. I just think that if you're looking to experiment with wearing the makeup you already have in a slightly new way, one really intriguing possibility is to take a look at what your baseline amount of coverage is for your skin. Just move the needle down a little bit, wear that around, and see how it feels. That's what I did today, and I'll roll the footage of myself applying the little bit of base product that I currently have on my face. I started with good skincare that doesn't have any coverage. So I had on my regular just serums and a little bit of day cream. And when I sat down to do my makeup, I started with the Natasha Denona High-Gen Skin Glass, which is part skincare and part priming for makeup product. It has a really beautiful kind of slightly iridescent glow. And I find that that kind of iridescence, that almost soap bubble, gold-leaning iridescence in a product like this, it actually can go a long way towards refining the surface of the skin, color correcting, reflecting a light in a way that makes me feel like maybe I can get by with a little bit less coverage. I feel like as soon as I put that product on my face, the parts of my skin that aren't currently blemished or don't currently have a lot of redness that sort of stands out, all the rest of my skin, the skin is in pretty good shape, looked even better, like looked really, really good, even though I hadn't covered it up. And that's what I'm getting at with this kind of technique. Next, I went in with yet another product that is designed to combat and cancel out aspects of my skin that I feel the least comfortable with rather than covering them up. That's a green color corrector, one of my favorite kinds of base product. And I actually went in with one that I've been using that, similar to the Natasha Denona product, is extremely skin plumping, smoothing, glow making, skin enhancing without having really all that much coverage. It's a pretty sheer green. I've been finding that this works best for me when I apply it all over my skin, like a full face of basically, again, a skincare product that just has some redness canceling qualities. That's what I've been enjoying about this one from Givenchy, but you know, any green color corrector can be applied that way. If you mix it with your primer or if you just use a little bit and spread it out quite thin. So after those 2 layers of what are basically priming products, like not really makeup, so much of my face was, I feel like, looking good enough to just walk right out the door and feel fully confident. The vast majority of the square inches of my face, like the vast majority of the surface area of my face, I feel like was done. Like that's it. Usually though, what I do even from there, is to take something like the Rose Inc concealer, something pretty full coverage, and dot it underneath my eyes and, down my T-zone and on my chin, buff it out with my fingers or a brush or a sponge, and really like apply a layer of color on top of that skin that's already looking great. I've just gotten in the habit of doing that because testing makeup is my profession and the products are beautiful, the finishes are beautiful, and they're a pleasure to use and sort of no reason not to. But today, with my mind on doing as little as possible, I skipped that step and I decided just to focus on concealing kind of in a pinpoint way. Only the few spots on my face that were left standing out really strongly red against the beautifully prepped background of the rest of my skin. So those were the couple of blemishes that I have on the sides of my face, a little bit of redness on my chin, and a little bit of redness around my nose. So I took my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer and a little brush, and I just pinpoint spot concealed only those parts of my face. So again, surface area wise, covering very little of my face, leaving most of it essentially bare. Glowy from the Natasha Denona product, color corrected from the Givenchy, but bare of coverage. Now, because the rest of my skin was bare, I spot concealed those spots, but I didn't obsessively cover them until they were completely obliterated. So in real life, if you were to see me, you'd be able to see maybe a little bit. You can probably see it on camera. Those spots are still showing a little, right? There's just slightly darker areas where those spots are. It's just that the difference between the slightly darker than my skin tone color of those spots, like slightly redder, and the canvas of the rest of my face, the difference is much smaller than it was before. I've narrowed the gap between the baseline color of my skin and the darkness of those blemishes. And when I talk about experimenting with, risking wearing less makeup, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about shifting the mindset from needing to completely cover anything that you feel is less than ideal on your face. It might not be blemishes, it might be something like under eye circles. But whatever it is, shifting the mindset away from needing to cover it up completely and shifting into a mindset of just narrowing the gap of the contrast between the rest of your skin and those areas. So not forcing them to blend in, which often takes actually kind of a lot of makeup, just tinkering with the tones a little bit so that everything's a little bit closer in tone to itself, like all the parts are a little closer in tone to each other than they were. So that's what I did with the NARS product. And I also chose to go in with a powder and set those spots, just a little bit of powder only on the places where I had spot concealed, I know is going to help with the longevity of this face of makeup, but that's an optional step and it depends on your skin type. So I've ended up with mostly bare and incredibly natural and real looking skin. Like to see me in person, you might not know that there's makeup on my face. If you thought it through and you can kind of see the blemishes and you thought, oh, those blemishes are really close in color to her natural skin tone, so you're not really noticing them as much, then you might think, oh, they're probably actually redder underneath. She probably covered them with a little bit of makeup. But my face does not look like a face with makeup on it. And that, I think, for some of us, again, those of us who are really used to just covering everything up every day, that's an experience worth experimenting with, a risk worth taking on a day when you feel like you can try something a little bit different. Okay, makeup risk number 2, a really bold lip as your only color cosmetics. And again, this will be more relevant to some of you than to others. I know that for a lot of people, a bold lip, especially a bold red lip, is like their signature makeup, pretty much all that they ever do. And if that's the case, then what I recommend is trying a color that's a little bit different. That's why I decided to demonstrate a brown instead of a red for this risk. I especially love a brown. I especially love a brown as a bold lip. I usually wear a softer lip than this. I mean, in terms of the lip line, in terms of the color, I chose Merit 1990 as my brown for demonstrating this makeup risk today. One of my all-time favorite lipsticks, one of my favorite browns, but I usually, again, apply it in a little bit softer and more blotted and semi-sheer of a way. To me, it's risky. It's a little bit different for me to put it on at full kind of shiny pigment like this. I also softened the edges of the line a little bit less than I usually do. So I've just turned up the dial a bit on the boldness of it. This is a great lipstick and a great color, but of course, you find something that's bold for you and different for you. So for some of you, if you decide to go in this direction, it's going to be about changing a little bit the color or maybe the way of applying your lipstick. But to me, actually, more than any of that, the main main quality of this as a risk, the main thing that makes it different, is that decision to refrain from adding any other balancing product to the face. So I don't have anything on my cheeks. I clearly don't have anything on my eyes. I'm wearing the light base makeup that I applied for step 1. And I think that whatever level of base is like your lowest level of coverage that you're comfortable with is kind of the ideal starting point for taking this particular makeup risk, a bold lip with nothing else, like no other color cosmetics. But it's very tempting, again, especially for people who are kind of deep in it with makeup, who watch a lot of YouTube tutorials, who have a lot of makeup, enjoy wearing makeup. It's very tempting for us to add more and to put on something else. I mean, I think that at the very least, usually I would add mascara. And if I was going for a really minimal version of this, it would be just the lip and mascara, but nothing on the cheeks. That already feels quite minimal, like quite toned down. The thing that makes it a little bit more of a risk than that and kind of pushes it, in my opinion, into a bit of an editorial territory, like a bit of something you might see in a magazine, is the leaving off of the mascara, like leaving off of everything. I should have said, I started this video with my brows a little bit sculpted, so there is a little bit of makeup in my brows as well. But on purpose, I didn't make them too dark. I didn't really fill them in or make them blocky or brush them up too dramatically. Try to leave them a little bit natural, so they don't really look like a made up feature, because that's the point of trying this. Having your lips be your only made up feature. I think for a lot of us at this moment in time, at this moment in makeup history, it's a little bit of a counterintuitive choice, but there's something so special about it. And if you've never done it, I know that some of you have, but if you've never done it, I really recommend trying it. Okay, here we go. Makeup risk number 3, something that is so fun to try. A monochromatic eye in an eyeshadow color, or using an eyeshadow that you never wear. Something from one of your palettes or from your collection of singles that's untouched. Now, what I mean by a monochromatic eye is an eye look using only one product. So not just one color, not like building a look that is only with blues, but then you still put something on the lash line, the outer corner, and waterline and all of that stuff. No, I'm talking about having the only eye makeup on your eye be the one eyeshadow. So what that implies, what that leads to, is no sculpting of the eye with shade and light, like no building of depth, unless you use the color that you chose to do that, which can be done. A lot of great eyeshadows work that way, but the variation, the sculpting in that case will be subtler than it would be if you were dipping into other tools. I think for some people, especially people who wear eye makeup every day, who tend to build these sculpted looks, who tend to use eye makeup to change the shape of the eye, which for a long time was really me. I was always using sculpting the outer corner to make my eyes seem bigger than they were, make them seem less hooded than they are. A truly fully monochromatic eye is a step away from makeup as like an enhancing, sculpting, beautifying product, and a step towards makeup as just a stamp of character, personality, fun on your face. And that's the thing that I think for some people feels like a risk. It's definitely that way for me. This matte pale blue from my old Gucci palette is a great choice for me, because even though I have moved more and more towards wearing a monochromatic eye and moved away from that intense feature altering sculpting in the everyday, almost invariably if I put on any kind of eyeshadow, it's something with some shine, a metallic or something sparkly. So to do an all matte look is very unusual for me. And then the colors that I pretty much never touch anymore for eyeshadow are those cool toned colors, the blues and the purples. And even if I do stray in that direction, the thing that I'm the least likely to touch is the kind of pastel version of that thing. So this checks all the boxes of like the last eyeshadow I would ever choose for a monochromatic eye. So it's really novel, and definitely to wear this out and about, like to wear it as my look for the day, would feel like a little bit of a shaking off of the makeup identity that I've grown used to. So it's really fun to see it. I think one of the things that's keeping it as wearable as possible feeling for me is that I'm keeping it really neutral on the whole rest of the face. There's not too much makeup on the whole rest of the face. So I have that pretty bare base going on. The lip gloss I've been wearing when I didn't have the bold lip on at the beginning of the video, and right now it's the Sigma Renew Lip Oil. This one has a little bit of tint. It's a great product. I'll link this down below along with everything else. That's the only other thing I put on, but I feel like if I were going to wear this, I would add even more glow to into my cheeks. I recently shopped my stash for this Rouge face palette, and I talked about it more in my video about shopping my stash for spring, summer makeup trends. And this was for the totally drenched, dewy face trend, which I actually think complements monochromatic matte eye really well. So yeah, adding a little shine to the cheeks, or a lot of shine to the cheeks, but not really color. There's a little bit of pale pink color in that, but you know, it's not a blush effect. So keeping it pretty sheer and pretty shiny everywhere else is making this feel like a takeable risk to me. This eyeshadow color that I never use all over my eyes as my only eye makeup, it's making me feel like I can meet it where it lives. And surprisingly, even though it's so not me, I still feel like myself. And those are the kinds of things that we can only discover by taking risks like this, you know? It's so easy to get into a rut. And it's funny because I think as makeup lovers especially, one of the best feelings is getting out of that rut and trying something new. But we who tend to collect product, who really, really love the products that we really, really love, who get particularly into our favorite things, you know, like I get particularly into a shiny taupey bronze eyeshadow. So every day of my life that I'm going to sit down to do makeup, it's like an opportunity to wear the stuff that I really love. For us who relate to makeup that way, we can be the ones who get the most stuck in our ways. And I think that even if it doesn't end up changing what you love or changing the way you do your makeup, it can be particularly wonderful if that's where you're coming from to take a risk like this or like one of these 3 risks that I've talked about, especially if you're able to do it without shopping, because that feeling of newness and freshness and change is often what we're after when we feel ourselves wanting to shop. But you don't have to spend money, you don't have to buy something new to get that feeling. I'm gonna wear this for the rest of the day. This is what we're ending with, and this is what we're going with. And you know that I want your suggestions in the comments, right? These are just 3, the 3 that I came up with, but they are all characterized by my own interests. You know what I mean? Like tinged by what I'm interested in. And for some of you, these might not feel like risks at all, but something else feels like a risk, like a full face of coverage feels like a risk, or a really sculpted eye feels like a risk. So put your suggestions in the comment section down below, the risks that you suggest other people take, or the things that you've gotten a lot of joy or satisfaction out of risking on your own face. Thank you for being here, for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, all of that. And I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.